We're coming on the air because the Supreme Court has just released a major decision which could have a profound impact on the midterm elections. The justices issuing a ruling on a case out of Louisiana involving the Voting Rights Act, redistricting, and whether states must end any consideration of race when redrawing congressional maps. The decision potentially reducing the influence of minority voters and minority representation in Congress. Let's get right to our senior Washington correspondent, Devin Dwyer, who covers the Supreme Court for us. Devin.
Kira, this decision is 6-3, written by Justice Samuel Alito, and it's a significant decision and a setback for the landmark Voting Rights Act of 1965, which was passed to guarantee equality in how we vote, and of course addressing the systemic and historic racial discrimination, especially across the South. This decision came in a case out of Louisiana involving a court-ordered drawing addition of a second majority black district in that state because of the size of the state's population. And the Supreme Court today, in this decision, said that the court violated the 14th Amendment by adding, the state rather, violated the 14th Amendment by adding that district. They used race impermissibly, consciously, to add a second district to aid those voters, and they said that is simply not allowed under our Constitution. Justice Samuel Alito didn't go as far as saying race can never be used in drawing these maps. That's something the court has affirmed before to comply with the Voting Rights Act, but he put a significant new limit on how courts can order states to draw their maps to be more equitable. He said that Section 2 imposes liability only when evidence supports a strong inference that the state intentionally drew its map to discriminate. So a setback for minority voters in Louisiana, and now, Kira, the impact of this decision is going to start to ripple across the country.
Hi, hello, how you doing? This is Navigator. I have good news. If you haven't heard, the Supreme Court has just dropped a nuclear bomb, basically a death knell for the Democratic Party, where they have got rid of the Voters' Rights Act, which, let me explain, will basically make it so that no longer will red states be forced to do segregation. That's it. There's no more segregation in the United States. Because of the Voters' Rights Act, Democrats were forcing red states to say, hey, you have this many black people, and since black people vote a different way from white people, they need their own representatives. Which would mean they were basically only making those gerrymandering areas by race, which made majority black districts, which, let's be honest, that just means Democrats. They had artificial seats, and because of this, by getting rid of that, the Democrats are up to losing 15 of their seats. How many are the Republicans losing? 0. Because the Republicans, MAGA, they were not gerrymandering based off race, unlike the Democrats. And something I have really realized in the past few months, especially with this whole thing, the Democratic Party is, Jesse Ward said it right, the Democratic Party is a scam. And their numbers are artificial. Like, think of it like this. They needed to force Republicans to make up 5 seats for them, even though it was unconstitutional. They hate being on equal playing field. But that's not it. Take a look. See.
Good morning. Okay, so this at first blush here is a win for the plaintiffs who were not black plaintiffs. They were non-minority voters who challenged this decision. These two districts that were minority majority. Essentially, Louisiana had drawn up districts, and then they were told in a legal battle that they had not represented black and minority voters sufficiently. They went back and drew a second district. So they had 2 of these minority majority districts. Well, then non-black voters sued and said, this is now violating our rights on the basis of race. So it looks like this is a 6-3 decision. There is one concurrence here, but it looks like the dissent sticks together with Justices Kagan, Sotomayor, and Jackson. But here's what the majority says. They say in some, because the Voting Rights Act did not require Louisiana to create an additional majority-minority district, no compelling interest justified the state's use of race in creating SB 8. That was those 2 new districts. That map is an unconstitutional gerrymander, and and its use would violate the plaintiff's constitutional rights. Now, this opinion is almost 100 pages long, so we're going through to see if it says something more broadly about the Voting Rights Act. That had been the fear on the left, that somehow this decision, if it was favorable for those challenging these maps, that it would somehow do a big chunk out of the Voting Rights Act. Haven't gotten to language that suggests that yet. It sounds like this decision is primarily about what happened in Louisiana. So we'll keep digging through this. But for right now, it's a win for those who were challenging these two minority-majority districts. Now, as we read through this and figure out the broader implications, there were 20-plus districts across the country that would have potentially lined up with this decision. They could be open to challenges that they were drawn on the basis of race, or that it was the primary factor that was used in drawing those districts. Most of those are throughout the South. So we'll look to see if there's enough sweeping language in this particular decision that may have a domino effect on some 20 other districts. Could be huge for the midterms. We'll continue to read through.
Toward a more perfect union. And now we're at a point where affirmative action is gone, diversity is gone, equity gone, inclusion gone, racial tolerance gone, the Voting Rights Act largely gone. But guess what, extremists? We're still here, that's right. And we're not going anywhere.
And today we're ramping up our efforts. We see the need for it just today in today's Supreme Court decision, which was a despicable decision that is a return to Jim Crow, taking decades of hard work, sweat, blood, and tears, and even people dying for the right to vote, to prevent racial discrimination in the right to vote. We see what they're doing in the SAVE Act, which would disenfranchise 20 million people. And we are fighting that every step of the way. And as I said, today we're ramping up our efforts. And what are we doing? We are joining.
I would go further and hold that Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act does not regulate districting at all. The dissenters, Justices Kagan, Sotomayor, and Jackson, warn they fear Section 2 is essentially, quote, a dead letter following today's decision. The consequences are likely to be far-reaching and grave. If other states follow Louisiana's lead, the minority citizens residing there will no longer have an equal opportunity to elect candidates of their choice.
And what I find so funny about this is, remember that Democrats tried to basically end democracy in Virginia by putting in a new map of Virginia, heavily gerrymandering, basically taking away 50% of the state's representation. Because that was going to do. And then it got shut down. And not only with this happening, Florida and Texas are going on with their redistricting, and Louisiana has already jumped on this and saying they're going to redistrict as well. Yeah, the Democrats really did screw up with this gerrymandering problem. And the worst part for them is they can't gerrymander anymore. All blue states are so gerrymandered that if they do gerrymandered a little bit, it would actually help the Republicans.
Breaking tonight, a circuit court in Virginia ruled a short time ago, within the past 2 hours, that the redistricting referendum passed by voters yesterday is unconstitutional. The judge is now blocking certification of the election and denying a motion to stay pending appeal. Virginia's Democratic Attorney General responding by posting that he plans to appeal that. Correspondent Mark Meredith has.
Brett, good evening to you. Plenty of new drama here in the Commonwealth tonight. Republicans are challenging the legality of yesterday's ballot measure. They have asked a judge to throw out the case, essentially to wait for it to happen. An injunction was issued. The judge agreeing. Democrats, as you mentioned, say they are going to appeal, that there's no merit to this case, that they believe this is an attempt to override the will of the voters. Either way, Brett, this is creating a lot more chaos ahead of November's midterms.
Donald Trump and Republicans launch this gerrymandering war. We're going to finish it.
Tonight, Democrats are claiming victory after Virginia voters narrowly approved a referendum giving state lawmakers power to redraw congressional maps this year, likely shrinking Republican representation from 5 House districts to 1.
It's a hyper-partisan gerrymandering boondoggle.
Critics accuse Virginia's Democratic governor, Abigail Spanberger, of flip-flopping after previously calling gerrymandering detrimental to democracy. She says it's now justified after Texas redrew its maps.
We want to respond to what we see other states doing at the request of this president.
Republicans say the fight's not over. The state Supreme Court has yet to rule if the referendum was legal to begin with.
We believe we have a very strong case before the state Supreme Court.
Today, President Trump, without proof, said the race was rigged, adding, "Let's see if the courts will fix this travesty of justice." Multiple states have already redrawn maps this year. Republicans say they've likely increased the majority by 3 to 5 seats in Texas. Democrats say the same in California. Both parties making smaller gains in Utah, North Carolina, and Ohio, with Democrats now holding to a 2 to 4 seat gain overall. Next up, Florida, where a proposal meant to gain Republican seats may be unveiled as soon as next week. Top Democrats are vowing to spend millions to fight back. Today, Governor Ron DeSantis said, "Bring it on."
Please be my guest. I will pay for you to come down to Florida and campaign. I'll put you up in the Florida governor's mansion.
Other states are also looking at redistricting, including Louisiana and Missouri, but some court cases have slowed down the process, and the states are also eagerly awaiting a ruling from the Supreme Court when it comes to the Voting Rights Act, which could limit the role race plays when it comes to drawing new voting maps. Brett.
Mark Meredith, live in Alexandria. Mark, thank you.
19 seats could be at risk all throughout the South. The question will be the timing. Is this a 2028 play? Is this a 2026 play? There are some primaries here coming up. Not until later in the cycle, August 6th. There's one in Tennessee. That's Steve Cohen's seat. That's a majority minority district. That's in August 6th. It won the one Democratic seat there. The Jim Clyburn seat in South Carolina. That is the Democratic seat in South Carolina. That's a June 9th primary. Jamie, this shows you the ramifications long term for this ruling.
Absolutely. Just think about that number. 19 seats in play. And let's look at this politically. Laura, you talked about confusion going into this race. We're worried about voter suppression. Apart from the long-term impact, we are going to see people take advantage of that confusion. There is going to be, these midterms are so high stakes that anybody who thinks they can take advantage on the state level of this decision, there is going to be a scramble to see if they can, because each side thinks this is an existential midterm with the House especially.
Yeah. Changes nationwide. Meanwhile, in Florida, lawmakers approving new maps, giving Republicans the edge heading into the midterms. Chandler Painter has the details. Good morning, Chandler.
Hey, good morning, LJ. So the Florida House and Senate voting to approve a new congressional map that sets Republicans up to gain 4 more seats in Congress. Florida's lieutenant governor says his state is already preparing for legal and political challenges ahead.
Look, this is not our first rodeo. We know it's not gerrymandered. It's geography plus population. It's going to hold off on the courts. The shift in population in our state has been significant. This is an accurate depiction of what goes on the ground in Florida. Again, geography plus population equals reality.
And of course, this comes as redistricting fights spread nationwide, including in Virginia, where Democrats just approved a new map last week that gives them a 10-1 advantage. And in Louisiana, where just yesterday, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down Louisiana's congressional map in a major victory for Republicans. The court's 6-3 decision, split along ideological lines, weakens a key provision of the landmark 1965 Voting Rights Act and limits the consideration of race in drawing congressional maps. A decision that could open the door for other states to redraw their maps in ways that could affect elections for years to come. But Democrats are vowing to fight back. Watch.
Today's decision by this illegitimate Supreme Court majority strikes a blow against the Voting Rights Act and is designed to undermine the ability of communities of color all across this country to elect their candidate of choice. But we're not here to step back. We're here to fight back.
And Democrats are also calling for the passage of an updated voting rights bill and Supreme Court reform. But of course, they are currently limited in the minority in both the House and Senate. LJ?
All right. Thanks so much, Chandler. Yeah. So today, the suspect accused of an attempt at...
That's right, everybody. And no matter what they say, they're going to all say the same thing. This is Jim Crow 2.0. As a black man, I did not lose anything. Heck, I'm in North Carolina. And I can't wait for them to get rid of the this segregation line back there. No more race hustlers. which also proves that they're losing a lot of influence, because if they had any left, this wouldn't have happened. Except for the 3 women, but they were never going to vote yes for this, because they're Democrats. They need black people in a certain area, and always in a bad position, so they can say, let us take care of you, which is just breed independence. And this has hurt them. This will really hurt them, especially with the midterms and with the gerrymandering in Florida, Texas, Louisiana, and others. And before anyone say, how is it different from Virginia? It's simple. The Virginia's Democrats, they broke a lot of laws in their own constitution. Not only that, compared to Florida, it's not as bad. Look at the maps from Chicago, New York, and all the other blue states. They look like this. Messed up lines. Republicans, they just look like squares. And I love this. Yeah. Going to the future. And let's be honest, it was just DEI, gerrymandering, that was meant just to help the Democrats. Like nothing else. Because you never saw it go any other way. Like, you think in California, where whites are the minority, they get a voting block? No, they hate white people. Like, I'm positive about that. We all know it. And to finish this, I would like to go through a part of the Bible that just makes sense. Peace Psalm 58. Judgment of the wicked. Do you indeed speak righteousness, you silent one? Do you judge uprightly, you son of man? In your heart wickedness, you weigh out the violence of your hand in the earth. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they are born, speaking lies. And the poison is like serpents of a serpent. They are like deaf cobra. They stop in the air, which will not heed the voice of a charmer, charming ever so skillfully, breaking their teeth in their mouths. O God, break out the fangs of the young lion. O Lord, let them flow away as water, which runs continuously when he bends his bow. Let his arrow be as if cut in pieces. Let them be like a snail, which melts away as it goes, like a stillborn child of a woman that may not see the sun. Before your pot can feel the burning thorns, he shall take them away, as with a whirlwind, as his living and burning wrath. The righteousness shall rejoice when he sees the vengeance. He shall wash his feet in the blood of the wicked, so that men will say, surely there is a reward for the righteousness. Surely he is God who judged in the earth. Thank you. This has been the Navigator Podcast. Please come back again, and goodbye.